Hello, welcome to Insignia Investments. My name is Roop Pratim Dotto, and today I have a book review for you. An economist walks into a brothel and other unexpected places to understand risk by Allison Schrager. Let's begin. Allison Schrager is not only an economist, but she's a journalist as well, and she writes for Quartz. But what makes her book and her writing very interesting is her long-term involvement in retirement funds. So she has a PhD in economics from Columbia University, and she's also a professor at New York University. And she has spent considerable amount of time designing portfolios, especially for retirement, and how to plan them. So this book is probably peeking into her mind and understanding how people take decisions and what kind of results come from what kind of decisions. So, who's this book for? This book is generally intended towards people who have probably a very fundamental understanding of economics, some finance, and some statistics. Now, if you're a person with some bachelor's degree in commerce, economics, or related sciences, you'll be thoroughly able to appreciate this book. So if you're a person who has some amount of knowledge in finance, this book is a must try. Now, what is the content of this book? This book, as the name suggests, is an economist experience of walking into a brothel and other places to understand risk. Now, why is it so important to understand risk? Because all of finance simply deals with risk. Every risk you take, like taking a walk in the park because it gives you fresh air, the reward is fresh air, but the risk is that you might get bitten by a dog, or a car might run you over. So those are the kind of risks you undertake to get some return. And we as individuals come from various walks of life, and each of us, even if we are not formally trained in finance, our brains with our common sense are geared to take decisions which yield the best output for the lowest amount of risk involved. And this book is a compendium, a collection of case studies from around 7 industries, how they operate, and how people in those industries without any formal training in finance still are able to wade through that world, balancing the risk and reward. Now, how is this content distributed? It is actually distributed into 5 sections, 5 parts. The first part, in my opinion, is where all the interesting juicy stuff is. All the major case studies are in this section. It starts with a very interesting case study of what makes Bill Gates so successful, because it asks this very question: what if you took the legends from various fields of life and took them through a different route since their childhood? You did not send them to the same schools. You did not give them the same set of amenities they had. They did not have the same kind of friend circle. Would they be as successful? It's a very valid question. It also portrays, it also sheds some light on so many people who would have been as intelligent as Bill Gates or other really smart and successful people. However, they were obliterated by various reasons, natural and unnatural. So it tries to make you feel a little humble that, uncertainties can even break the best of us. So success is not just the outcome of being great, it's also the outcome of having favorable odds. So that's the first initial 2 chapters that it delves into. However, chapter 4 is where all the interesting stuff begins. It's a chapter titled Risk Management, and it's a must read. If you're like me, who likes movies, you would surely want to know what makes movies successful and what are the chances you take a random movie and it will be successful. Now, when I say successful, it means that the film will be able to make enough earnings to break even with the costs involved in production. Surprisingly, it has a very good visual description of the same, very detailed understanding, and it also gives you a lot of insight that nearly 50% of the movies that are produced in the world do not even recover their production costs. It's very interesting. I am sure you will like this chapter, chapter 4. Highly recommended. The remainder of part 1 deals with various financial concepts like risk-free and then the risk-reward relationship. That is, without risk, there is no reward. So no risk, no reward. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. However, I would like to point out that the section on risk-free is very short and could have been made a little bit more intense in terms of details provided and probably a better case study to go along with it. Part 2 of this book delves into behavioral finance, and irrationality. While this section is very short, it only comprises of 2 chapters, hardly 50 pages. It does admit one thing which I have never seen any other finance book admit, that is, yeah, we all are lousy at estimating probabilities. See, here's the thing, finance is difficult. It may not seem as difficult as, let's say, subjects like rocket science or engineering math on paper, but rocket science and engineering math does not have to grapple with human irrationality, because we make decisions not only based on logic but also based on emotions and feelings, and so many other things get involved which math at times just cannot encapsulate. So these 2 chapters, part 2, they do definitely touch upon those topics of what makes human decisions so complex, why is irrationality a thing to be wary of when making decisions, and behavioral finance in general, how we react to losses. Very interesting, but probably could have been fleshed out a little more. Part 3 of this book is where the traditional approach towards finance starts. It kind of starts with basic concepts of finance, of risk, reward, and it also helps the reader understand many of these financial fundamentals with apt number of examples of paparazzis and horse breeding and many other kind of things. Now, just because I said horse breeding, the example provided in this book for part 3, where the formal finance starts, is about a horse breeding program that wins races. I think that the example is really not apt for a first time reader. It's a little too complex. However, if you are a little advanced reader, you have some background, you'll be really able to appreciate the complexity and what goes into making champion horses. Part 4 of the book is where you get introduced to the jargons, things like options, Greeks, risk and insurance, all these kind of things. Now, it is not mathematically intensive. It's just the common sense version of these products and items. While these are really based on common sense and does not involve intricate math, I definitely suggest you to give it a read, because if you're a first time reader, you'll really be appreciating the uncertainty based products like the derivatives fundamentally. Because usually those are very, very complex topics, and if you take up any book other than this based on that topic, most of those books will, after 2 or 3 pages, just jump right into the math, because it's a very math laden subject. So this is where Allison Schrager shines, and her experience really shows through, because she talks about all of these derivative products, insurance products, without jumping into the math, and you really can understand the products. That's the beauty of this book's part 4. And finally, part 5, it's probably the boring part. However, it just says that life is uncertain, and no matter how smart, how novel your approaches towards understanding risk are, there will always be items which will remain unknown to you and complex to you. It takes examples from the world of war and says that how uncertain wars can be. It's like a front row view to how horrific and how uncertain wars are. However, people shine, and she says it's just not effort and planning, it's also luck and uncertainty involved. So that's the content of the book. So the real question is, why do I think this book is a must read for every MBA student? There are 3 primary reasons. The first is the language of the book. It's a real gem. It's a very well written, easy to read book that portrays many complex financial concepts, but you will be able to grasp them, you will be able to deal with them and understand them to a sufficient extent. At number 2, this book is like a compendium of case studies, and the case studies are really, really well curated, because I'll tell you, finance is counterintuitive by nature. Now, when I say counterintuitive by nature, what am I trying to say? You take a ball, throw it up in the air, it's gonna come down. You know it through intuition. Why? Because your past experience, when you throw a ball up, gravity starts working and the ball comes down. However, if I told you that if you engaged in trading goods with your worst enemy, it will be prosperous for you, you probably will not agree. Just to put it into context, if I said India were to engage in heavy trade with Pakistan, I think a lot of people in India would go against it, and the same would happen probably in Pakistan as well. However, both countries have been actually reaping benefits from such kind of trade programs. Not that I'm saying that we should, but just to illustrate the concept of counterintuitive. Now, finance is laden with such things. Bonus tip, try to read up something called the Grossman-Stiglitz paradox. It's a great example of such kind of counterintuitiveness. This book has so many well-written examples of this financial counterintuitiveness that the next time you come across such counterintuitive examples, you'll be well prepared to handle them and take them on a logical front rather than based on your experience in the past. And at number 3, I think the best thing about this book is it's a quick read. 200 pages. I am telling you, the amount of material in this book and the quality of the material, other books usually take 400 pages to cover this kind of material. However, this book is just a quick 200 page read. You'll be easily able to finish it within a weekend. And it will introduce you to so many new things. So, quick read. It is well written, very lucid language, and it has ample number of examples. These are the major 3 reasons why I recommend this book, and it's a must read for everyone, especially in MBA. Additional tip. What's the best time to read this book? In my case, I read it after I graduated from B school. However, I believe the best time to read this book is after your term 2, which is when a full-fledged paper on corporate finance starts rolling in. Because you'll be introduced to those products there in much details with the math involved. However, I think this is sufficiently light for you to understand it by term 2, and even if you're not a finance major, you'll be able to appreciate the concept. And that makes this book a great read. Now, I don't believe that books should be rated on a scale of 10 or 100, whatever. I just say it's a great book and it's a great read. You should definitely give it a try. Now, if you're planning to buy this book, it would be a great help if you bought it from the affiliate link in the description box below. Because it not only helps the channel, but it also provides me with more enthusiasm to produce such kind of videos. If you have liked this, do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to stay abreast with such MBA tips, tricks, general knowledge sharing, I would really urge you to stay subscribed to the channel. That is all from my side for today. I hope you like this video. See you in the next one. Till then, happy investing in yourself.